Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Life According to Cree, the podcast. As always, I am your host, Miss Cree Cole. And I know I could probably go into like 15, 20 minutes of what I've been up to, but I'll save that for later. Um, what I do want to do is go ahead and jump into this topic. I know y'all missed me. I missed y'all too. But I'm here now, so let's get into it. I don't know how many of you, follow the social medias, follow things on social media like TikTok, where they have like a trending topic, and then everybody has their hot takes that they record on that trending topic. And one of the topics that has been on fire for the last week, 2 weeks is single moms and their inability to date what is quote unquote a high value man. Um, there was a clip from a reality show where they were doing a reunion, and one of the young women on there said that when she went out on a date with one of the gentlemen, just for backstory, that one of the things that turned her off in particularly to him was that the fact that he said that he would never date a single mother. And then on top of that, she threw in it kind of took her because he was raised by a single mother. And taking the fact that I am and will always be classified as a single mother because I am 42, my son is 22. Me and his father dated in high school. We graduated from high school. We went off into our careers. We were still dating. When he was born, I was 20. His father was 19. And by the time we were 21 and 20, we decided that we no longer wanted to be in a relationship that had actually started in high school. We matured past each other, and that was perfectly okay. But because I am a single mother, and I know it probably won't be a popular take or one that a lot of people will, or a lot of single mothers may be able to get into. But for one thing, I've never considered myself the textbook single mother. Let's start there. Or what people consider, or I didn't have the stigmas that people attach to single motherhood. I had some, but not all. The other thing is when with the takes that I've seen with them talking about high value men, not necessarily or men with money, or considered to have money, not wanting to date single mothers. I hate the generalization when they say men instead of saying that in particular man. I've even had some instances where on social media where I may have commented on one of the hot takes, and then there would be some spicy man coming in and be like, "Well, no high value man." Well, how can you say that? And usually when I ask the question, "Well, how many men have you dated?" that usually ends the conversation right then and there. They don't want to talk to me no more. So, because I happen to be one of those people who believes that while you can be something, like I am a woman, I know what it feels like to be a woman. I know what the things that a woman can go through. I know what women go through, but I can't, but just because I'm a woman, speak for all women. There are only a few things that I can generalize and say that it actually would apply to all women, but there will still be a way for someone to vary, to deviate from whatever statement I make. So I try to stay away from them types of things and saying those types of things as much as possible, even though it's really easy to, especially when it comes to dating. Because if you've never dated you don't know what it's like to date you. You have absolutely no idea what it is like to date you. So saying that this person didn't do this or this person didn't do that or this person didn't understand that or whatever, there's no way to know. Saying I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I wasn't like that. That's from your standpoint, but that may not be with that other person, with that male, that other female, or whomever. That may not be the impression that they got from actually having to deal with you. Because a lot of times things that we deem acceptable for ourselves and the attitudes and the way that we handle ourselves is acceptable for us, but or maybe the standard for us as far as certain situations are concerned, but it may not be the case for the person that you're pursuing or the person that is pursuing you. And I think that people get lost in that. We've had so much of the comparisons and the bashing back and forth and the constant competition that a lot of times we forget about ourselves. We forget about ourselves. We forget about, we overlook the fact. I'm not going to say if we forget. We overlook the fact because we know it's there, that we may very well be the problem. What will never be the problem, though, is a woman who has children obtaining the type of man that she wants to be with. That is something that will never, ever, ever be called into question, whether or not a woman is capable of doing that. Because for one, in that particular conversation, they were talking about women wanting what's considered a high value man. What they failed to discuss further was, and what most people who use that terminology fail to consider, is what that individual woman considers a high value man. And a lot of times, a girl who's young, just out there single with no kids, may define a high definition man as a man who makes a high quality man. I say high definition like I was talking about a TV, because that's literally how we downgrade each other at this point. But let's say a younger woman with absolutely no kids could say very well may consider a high value man to be a man who makes a lot of money, who has a career where he has the ability to gain and make a lot of money, or etc. Newsflash for a whole bunch of men who think that they know exactly what every single woman wants based upon the women in their family and the women that they dated. All women do not value the same things, just like all human beings, all races, all nationalities do not value the same things. A lot of times it is actually based, while we have a lot of things in common, say our core value system may be totally different. Two people can go to the exact same church all their lives, but when they live their lives outside of that building, they can have different sets of core values. So just say generalizing an entire group and just saying women is really hard, especially with single mothers, because yes, I can say, speaking for myself, when I was younger and like I said, I was 20 years old when I had my son. But when I had my son, I was not destitute. I was not homeless. I was not struggling. I was working for one of the largest insurance companies in the state of South Carolina. Now, I'm not going to say one of the largest insurance company in the state of South Carolina. I was making well above what the minimum wage was at that time, which at that time, it was between like $5.50 and $6.50. I was making $10, which that was way, way back in 1999. Let's say that. So it was over 20 years ago, but that was the minimum wage in the state that I'm in. And that's what I was making. I had full health care insurance in order to take care of my pregnancy. I did not require any type of government assistance for my housing, in order for us to eat, etc. I did take advantage of certain programs in order to lighten what could possibly be the load, like WIC, because that was a way to get baby formula, which has always been expensive. I don't care what year you had your baby, because I was not a mother that breastfed. Outside of that, and me and my son's father actually didn't even visit the conversation of child support until my son was between 2 and 3 years old. So it's not like at that age I was saying, when I found out that I was going to be a mother, had my son, me and my son's father broke up. Me, my son's father, and his new girlfriend all helped celebrate my son's first birthday. Because we had a mutual breakup, it wasn't a fight, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't traumatic, it wasn't beef. So we were able to do that together. When I decided, at first, I wasn't even gonna date anybody at all. It was all in my head. It was all about me taking care of my baby. I ain't need no man. If he want to go get him a girlfriend, that's fine. But I have to be available for this baby. It was to the point where my uncle, one of my uncles actually gave my son the nickname Night Rider. Because no matter where I went, who house I was going to, no matter how late I was going to be out, I had my baby with me. Even though my parents had absolutely no problem with babysitting my baby for me, if I was going somewhere that he could go, then I took him with me. And my uncle called him Night Rider. But that was my main focus. And then when I actually said, okay, I actually came across somebody and I liked them, I said, okay, I actually want to start dating. Like, I want to have a man. Like, I want to have a man. I want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be single. You know, it were things that I had to consider that just an average, just 21, 22-year-old woman did not have to consider. So that automatically made what I wanted or what I considered, what I took value in, automatically changed. And it differed from my friends who did not have children. I personally completely remember the fact that not only did the person have to be good looking, I don't even consider those as being, when someone asks me what I look for in a man, their physical description is completely out of the window. I don't do the whole physical description thing. I know what I like. I'm not going to respond to or talk to anything that I don't like. I don't feel like that's something that I have to give off in a list. I just don't. It just means, it seems childish. It seems childish. My bad. But it seems childish. So, but I do give the things, really basic things that I think are necessary in order for me, that person, to get along, and with me having a child, things that are going to make dating me easier and make me more available for that person. One of the things that I said that I did not want to do is I didn't want any man around my child. I did not want them in my space. I did not want them in my child's space, because I was not looking for or wanting a stepdaddy. I wasn't looking for a stepdaddy. I've never wanted a stepdaddy for my son. That just wasn't the move. He has a father. He has his grandfather, he has cousins that are considered uncles, etc., etc. He has uncles. So there was absolutely no reason for me to be trying to fill the void of him having a father, because there was no void. Because his father was actually an active participant in me raising him and his everyday activities, even though we did not live in the same home. We co-parented long before it was called co-parenting. Was every day great? Was he always there at the pickup? No, because I mean, we were young. We were in our 20s. We were in our very early 20s when we had our son. So, but everything eventually got completely on track. And a lot of that was because neither one of us harbored any ill feelings toward each other from when we were both young and immature, because we no longer wanted each other. All we wanted to do was raise our kid. And we wanted to be able to communicate and do that. Even if we couldn't eloquently say that to each other or to other people at that time. We didn't have feelings. What went on in his life separate from me, separate from his son, had absolutely nothing to do with me, and vice versa. And a lot of times, before I go on, people won't admit that that is the problem. The reason why you can't co-parent is because you're trying to still be in a cohesive relationship with the father or the mother. And once the relationship is over, the relationship is over. But nonetheless, moving forward. So but I said all that to say, I never wanted anyone in my life. I never wanted to get my son a stepdaddy. That was never the goal. I never wanted anybody to be in place of his actual biological father. Not at any time. So that was one of my things when I was going out there dating. So if that conversation came up, or if someone else mentioned it, or someone criticized me for dating because of that, I always made that very clear to anyone that would listen. I would shout out to us. Like, I'm not looking for a daddy for my child. My son has a daddy. So that was one of the things that I valued, was the person being able to accept the fact that I have a child, and when there were things going on with my child, I was not going to be available. Um, I'll make it do what it do when I can, but if it's something in reference to my kid, then it was all stops. And that was a sacrifice that I had to make in order to make sure that my son was getting the attention and I was active and I was where I needed to be for him. Because with a small child, all they have is you. That grown man, he got himself and whoever he has gathered over the years. But your child is always going to require, especially when they're very small, the absolute most attention. But also, I value somebody who respected my time. I valued meeting a man who not only respected my time, but respected the fact that I was a mother. That wasn't going to put me into situations where anything could happen with my motherhood title, as in he couldn't sell drugs, he couldn't be a super thug, he couldn't be this, he couldn't be that, because anything, if I'm around you during my free time and I'm spending time with you and you get into something and then I get into something because I'm with you, then that automatically impacts my child. I wanted that person to be able to take care of themselves. That guy that likes me or whatever, I needed for him to be able to take care of himself. Because unfortunately, hitting me up for money just wasn't going to be the move. It just wasn't going to be the move. Like, I remember, like, me being so young and me telling people, like, me dudes and me telling them where I work, and they be like, oh, okay then, okay then? Oh, you got a good job and all that stuff. And I be saying to myself, and I have absolutely nothing to offer you because everything that I got goes into my household and goes into my kid. So meeting a guy that was able to take care of himself was what was of value to me. Having someone that was going to be respectful, someone who could be able to take care of themselves, someone who had, and by take care of themselves I mean they had a place to stay. Whoever, even if they were staying with somebody, they had their own place to stay. They had their own way of getting around, because I knew that if they needed me for those things, I was not going to be available to give those things. And that is the way that I dated through my early 20s. I remember, like, I made my son so much not a part of my dating situations until I actually met a guy. Hung out with him a couple of times. He was actually a family friend. I had a family gathering at my house because he was a friend to the family. The family member that he was a friend of actually told me, yeah, come through. I was like, yeah, come through. It's at my house. It's going to be cool. That man actually was around my son for about 2 hours. He was at my house, in my yard. It's like 4th of July. So, people cooking out, they're playing cards, eating, kids on slipper slides, all that good stuff. My son is actually coming to me, talking to me. He's not hollering ma, because he doesn't have to address me and specify that I'm his mother. He just, talk to me or whatever. And I don't know what happened or how we got on the conversation, but he was like, yo, that's your son? The little boy that was in there, that's your son? I was like, yeah, that's my son. I was like, I ain't mentioned to you that I had a kid. He was like, I think you might have. He's like, but I don't know if you did. You didn't like say his age or nothing like that. He was like, yo, the whole time I was at your house, I thought that was your little brother. Now, mind you, I was in my 20s at the time, and my son might have been about 9 or 10. Yeah, I might have been just like late 20s. So he's like between 8 and 10, something like that. But that was because I'm not trying to date you to get you saying, oh, I'm going to introduce you to my son, I'm going to introduce you to my kids and all that. No, I want you. That was my whole thing. Like, I want to date you. I want to see you. I want to spend time with you. If he needs time with a male figure, I had plenty of male figures to fill the void. I just put it like that. And all of them were related to me, except for his actual dad. His dad came and got him on the schedule. And then once my son got a little bit older, anytime in between. It wasn't until my son was 10. He was 10 when I met my ex. He was 10 years old, and with the relationship, he was from my actual hometown, my ex, and so he didn't necessarily know me like that, but he did know people who knew my son, and was familiar with my son. My son played sports and things like that, and they actually shared some relatives, and the only reason why then it became, okay, I need to actually officially introduce him to my son. Like, I asked my son, do you know who this is? You know, definitely. My son knew who he was from seeing him around and things like that. And that's when I had to have the conversation. My son was almost a teenager. And I had to have the conversation with him and be like, look, this is the person that I'm dating. And I want for y'all to like meet each other. I want you to be around him and stuff like that. But by that time, he was in double digits. And a lot of it was because my relationship with my ex moved so fast into commitment that we were already discussing moving in together. And when we just started discussing moving in together, it's like, oh shoot, now I gotta vet him to see if it's okay for him to be around my son. Not for him to replace his dad. Not for him to replace his dad, because his dad's spot didn't have to be solidified. It was there. His father is a daddy, a father. All the different definitions and different languages that you want that they have to say daddy. His dad is that guy. So, and by that time, the girl that my son's father was dating, when we first broke up, he was with he had actually a new love that he eventually got married to. So it was, okay, now I got to be, because if we're talking about that we want to be together, we want to live together, living with me means living with my kids, so I'm going to have to see how that works out. I spent about 6 months vetting it out. My son actually thought that my ex was like the coolest dude he ever met. They had absolutely no problems with each other. My son was not uncomfortable around him at all. He was also older, and then it gave me comfort in the fact that he was older, so that if there was a problem, my son and I he was at an age where we communicated enough to where he could tell me that there was a problem. He could tell me how he felt, etc. He could do all of that. So once me and my ex decided to move in together, and we knew we had to get a 2 to 3 bedroom spot because he also had a child. Not a child that lived with him, but he did have a child. That it was that I felt like that it would work. But I just needed to make sure that he understood, that my ex understood, that, the importance of my son, what his role would be as far as dealing with my son, and what my son's biological father's role was. And we did that without a hitch. Now, my ex, Lord Jesus, is one of those guys where every woman he's ever touched in life, if they had kids, they were his kids. I remember my ex, at one point, my ex was claiming like 8 or 9 kids. And I'm like, Daddy, only for him to actually have fathered one. But everybody that he had ever dated, if he spent time with them, because I guess it was a thing for women to move in the house and I don't know how the women did their business, but all these kids had a special type of relationship with them. And I can say that even though me and my ex have been broke up since February of 2017, and we completely cut ties with each other, like the summer of 2018, where we definitely needed distance from each other, so that we could both healthily move on. My son was still able to see him somewhere, and they have a mutual respect for each other. But even once I matured and I got into a situation where, not a situation, in a relationship where that my son was going to be involved in that relationship on a daily basis, the basic value system that I had, or what I consider a man of value, still had nothing to do with the stepdaddy aspect or someone being coming in to take care of my child. And a lot of the takes that I heard were men saying, don't no guy with no lot of value, or no guy with a lot of money gonna want to deal with somebody with a child, because They may not want to spend their money on that child because that's not their child. I mean all kinds of foolishness, all kind of bumfoolery. And not knowing that a lot of times single mothers do not necessarily want that or need that or require that in order to date someone that they meet or to go out with them or to enter into a relationship with them. That very well may not be what they want from that person, or that might not be what they want right now, because there are single mothers who meet men and take the time to actually vet those men before they actually bring them around their children. That does still exist. I don't know why I think that like the females just going around. I know that we make little jokes and stuff about it, stepdaddy season, etc., etc., etc. I know that, but it's for some of us it's just jokes. For some of us, it's just jokes. Because in reality, and for any woman, any females with kids that are going, when they're out there meeting men, and one of the things they say they want somebody they want to meet someone who is going to help them take care of their kids. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that you need to be looking for before you even put the kid aspect into it. A lot of values and things in order to be a parent. And I've had absolutely no trouble. I can say that in my 20 years of being a parent, of being an adult, because I mean, as soon as I got into adulthood good, I became a parent. I've never had an issue with men telling me that they're not going to date me, or they don't want to see me, or they don't like me, or whatever because I had a kid. Like, that was never, ever, ever an issue as far as me dating. My last relationship was my longest relationship in hell. Like I said, we moved in together and had a whole little family situation going on, and it crossed over into 2 different states with that same family situation going on. So that's a whole myth. Now, could that actually be the case in some situations? Then yes, absolutely. I mean, all kinds of things happen at all times. What I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt is, in Crystal's world, there has never been a time where I've been dating someone and they sat me down and they told me, or I've been out on a date with a guy that I just met or whatever, and we start talking about the fact that I had a child, and he sits across the table from me and tell me that, well, I don't know about hanging out with you since you got a kid. I'm sure there's men that do it. I just have never experienced it, so I don't know what that life's like. Of course, as always, you can comment, share whatever your own experiences, and let me know, with some of you ladies how that's going. But I just know I've never personally experienced that. And for the men who like to say that they are that bold, let's keep it a whole book. When you first meet somebody, and when you saw them across the room, you didn't say to yourself, oh Lord, I wonder if she got kids. That wasn't a part of the conversation. That's not one of the part of the conversation that you had in your head. Oh my God, I wonder if she got kids. Let me go over here and introduce myself to her and find out if she got kids. Because if she got kids, then what I saw and what I like, what I seen, I don't like I ain't gonna like no more. Let's keep it real. So that's what the whole vetting process, once that initial meeting happens, and then you transition over into dating. And then the flip side to all of the hoopla about high value men not wanting single mothers were the females. And when I'm saying females, because I want to be able to cover all age groups, all shades, all colors, all sizes. The females who were ripping into this man, because this man, now mind you, this man ain't made no video. These were people making videos about a video that they saw. But them ripping into him about how, and actually saying how hypocritical he was for not wanting to date a single mother when he was raised by a single mother. First and foremost, without even getting into the whole single mother thing, these men, women, and other can have whatever preference that they want to have. Human beings can have whatever preference they want to have, no matter their age, no matter their size, no matter their race, whatever. People can have a preference as to who they want to date, who they want in their lives, who they want to be around. That is perfectly okay. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's not, he was not being disrespectful by saying, the disrespect did not come from him saying that he did not want to date a single mother. Because at the end of the day, with me being a single mother and me raising a son who is now 22 years old, if my son comes to me and he tells me that he has a girl that he's interested in or a girl that he is dating, and he tells me that that girl has children, whether it's 10, 2, or 1, I, even though I am a single mother, I am not going to say, oh yeah. No, I'm going to have questions. I'm going to have questions about this girl, where she come from, how many baby daddies she got, how were her relationships with these men, or this or that in particular man. Does this person take care? Is this person active in the child's life? I'm going to ask my son all of those questions in hopes that he goes to her and he asks her those questions, because that is going to have a major impact on their relationship. We talk about people wanting to avoid struggle love. Let me tell you something. If a man or a woman has kids and they are a single parent and they do not get along with the absentee parent, and I say absentee because that is what the law call you. It don't mean that you crap. It don't mean that you shit. It don't mean that you don't do this and you don't do that. Absentee just literally means you're absent from the child's home. You are absent from the child's primary address. So don't nobody jump up and get all in their feelings about the word absentee. But if they don't get along with the absentee parents, and the situation is so bad until it's 70% of y'all conversation, you need to let them have that. Let them have that. Let them figure that out. That's what I would tell my son. That's what I'm gonna tell my son. I'm not gonna tell him not to date her, because her situation may be like the one that I was in when I was raising him, where I didn't have them problems. But it's definitely, with me being a single mother, it's definitely going to be a conversation. If I see that this girl is always with my son and she has a child and he's bringing her around me, etc., or whatever, I'm going to have questions, even though I'm a single mother. I'm not going to think that anything and everything that she does is right because I was a single mother and she was a single mother. So this young man having preferences and decide, it could very well be because he watched how his mother either was out in the streets heavy. He didn't necessarily like the way that she lived as a single mother. As far as her personal life, she may have been one of the ones who had men coming in and out all the time, in and out of her life and in and out of his. And because he didn't like it, he may not ever want to be one of those kind of guys for a single mother. He may have seen his single mother, he may have wanted certain things for his mother, but because, and will recognize that a lot of the things that he wanted for his mother to be doing and whatever she did not do, and she did it out of love for him, and he may not want to be someone else's, be someone else's struggle. You don't know. It doesn't have to be for a nasty and negative reason. But nonetheless, whatever his reason is, that is his preference. And women jumping all up in their feelings, being mad at him because he says he doesn't want to date this specific group of women, is wild to me. It was wild to me just to constantly watch the videos and whatever. Like, y'all really mad? Okay, if you come across a man that doesn't want to date a single mother and you're a single mother, then that means let him go ahead and be off about his business. That doesn't automatically mean that there's something wrong with him. And on the off-putting chance that there was something wrong with him, baby, you just dodged the bullet. I don't know why we fight so hard to be in some of the most trivial spaces, but won't fight as hard to get a voter registration card to be able to vote, to keep these folks, this government, from being able to take things away from us. But we will fight tooth and nail to be in a trivial little space with people that don't want us. We won't march to be able to enter into this or enter into that, or to be able to get equal pay, etc., etc. We won't go ahead. We won't go both for that. But we will get on the end. We'll say, oh, well, then people gonna do what they want to do anyway. Or what my one little voice gonna make them with something big. But something as trivial as a man's approval or a man's attention, we be going to the mat. Some of us be going to the mat. Y'all sound dumb. It's wild to me. It's wild to me. Like, if you meet a single guy who has no kids, and he says that he doesn't date women with kids, it's okay. Sis, it's all right. That don't mean nothing wrong with him. Because guess what? There's a whole bunch of broke mofos that don't want to date nobody with no kids anyway. There's a whole bunch of trifling, nasty, narcissistic, slightly crazy, completely bummy men that don't want to date women with kids either. And if you're going off of what you see when you're out as to whether or not they actually got something, let me tell you something. A man can be making $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year. But being so much debt the way he poor. Because his profit to debt ratio is off. But he look good though. So there are dudes, the undesirable dudes that you wouldn't, finance-wise, that you wouldn't want to date. That ain't got nothing, but still don't want to date nobody with no kids. Because of the fear with the bums, it's the fear that you won't help them out. You won't be able to help them out because you got all them kids. You ain't going to be able to do nothing for him. Sometimes you're dodging a bullet. Be careful what you be careful what you ready to go to the mat for. Be careful what you ready to go to the mat for. Looks can be deceiving. The same way men say looks can be deceiving because this girl done went got her whole body done and he thinking that he got this da-da-da-da-da, but it can have so many complications still, blah, 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 blah. You could be thinking that you got a high-value man because he look good, because he can go shopping, but he in so much debt until he don't never have no extra money, so he still got to mooch off you anyway, sis. He still needs your assets anyway. Like, why bother? Keep it pushing. Just like if a man says he doesn't date big girls. If a man says he doesn't like dating skinny girls. If a man says he doesn't like dating women who wear weave. If a man says he doesn't like women who wear their natural hair. If a man says he doesn't like women that wear makeup. If a man says that he only likes women who wear makeup. If a man says that he only likes women with 10 feet. If a man says that he only likes women who are under 5'10". If whatever the case may be. If you do not fit into the standards, sis, of what he wants, keep it pushing. A lot of times we spend so much time worrying about the people that don't want us, we miss the damn ones that do. We miss them. We'll completely miss them because we so worried about trying to get attention from the ones who don't. We trying to get validation from the ones that don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then the women who do say, let that man have his preference. If you don't like it, then you want to call her a pick-me. Saying that the only reason why she's agreeing with the take of the stance is because she wants men to clap for her. Let me tell you something. About Creco. I seek approval at this big age of 42. And that was another wild thing. Because it was women from the early 20s, which I expect for them to feel some type of way. I know how everything made me feel some type of way when I was in my 20s. So I expect for them to feel some type of way. But it was grown, older women. My age and older, 40-something and older. Mad because this man, are you still... And then when you want to ask them questions, they want to jump in their feelings. Because are you still single? Because if you're still single, if you had kids and you still single and you over 40 and your kids grown, You being a single mother, a man not wanting to date you because you were a single mother was not the problem. I need you to go back to the drawing board, sis. I'm single right now. I happen to know I'm single and dating someone who has no kids. And I happen to know that my son wasn't the hindrance of any relationship that I was in. My issues and them people issues did not mesh well together. Our issues weren't able to compromise with each other because everybody has issues. Everybody has issues. So it's all about how you're able to get through things. What you're willing to tolerate, what you're not willing to tolerate. But being a single mother has never been a hindrance to any woman if the man wanted. It's never been a hindrance. They go, oh, I would date you. And if you happen to run across those ones, you know, with the mouthpieces, the ones that are a little bit more spicy, that'll be like, man, if you ain't had no kids, I would date you. No, what he's really saying is, if you ain't had no kids, I would screw you. It's keeping a bug. Like, what does dating me have to do with my kids? What does dating me have to do with my kids? We run around saying all the time that people make time for what they want to make time for. I tell you, I had a whole instance when I was in my late 20s where I kept my dealings with him and what I was doing with my son completely separate. To the point where when he finally was around my son, he thought my son was my brother. Thought he was my little brother. So it can actually be done. You can actually do both. You can live in both worlds. Ladies, you can live in both worlds. Don't let those men, because I promise you, men with money, not celebrity men, because I ain't going to be talking about celebrity men because I ain't no celebrity. And what celebrity people do, we should not be trying, anybody who's not a celebrity should not be trying to live their life upon the same course with the same type of things that someone who is a celebrity is. That is completely unrealistic. That is completely silly. But I do know that men who are able to take care of themselves, I'm not even going to say men with a lot of money, men who are able to take care of themselves want you to be able to do what they want you to be able to do first and foremost, and more than anything is take care of yourself and everything that is attached to you. Whether it be his or otherwise. Let me tell you something. If you meet a grown, mature man, and you are a single mother, but you take care of your business with your kid and for yourself, the fact that you're a single mother will never ever be an issue. They're not going to be able to come up with anything. And the ones that do, those are people that are not for you. We got to be able to accept this fact that sometimes people just ain't for you. Sometimes people just ain't for you. And that is okay. It is okay. So if I don't leave y'all with anything else, because I am almost at my time and I got more things to do with my time. If I don't leave you with nothing else, accept the facts that are in front of you. A lot of times we live in a lot of disillusion, let's say our own little worlds of what we want, what we think, what we were taught. We don't want to expand outside of our boxes and where we've set ourselves up to be. Like we don't want to go outside of what we know, and we want to try to fit everything into what we know and what we're the most comfortable with. Every now and again you gotta shake up. Every now and again you gotta shake up the box. I ain't saying you gotta blow the box to smithereens. I ain't saying that you got to tear it apart. But what you do need to do is shake the box up a little bit and be able to see things beyond your general understanding. One of the biggest things that we talk about in my circles and things like that are that we tend to box ourselves in to a specific way of living, a specific way of doing things, a specific way of handling things, and then we get to the point when we say, this is how I do it. But in situations, unfortunately, life doesn't always fit that way. And then we become dismissive of anything that we can't fit into our box. Someone's preference is something that you can't fit into your own box. So single moms, keep your head up. Don't be letting these talking heads on social media. I know I'm a talking head on social media also, but don't be letting these talking heads on social media make you question who you are and the validity of who you are and your value based upon whether or not you made the conscious decision to give life or have never even given life. Don't allow people to box you in. You can have your own personal box. Just don't allow people to push you into a corner, because anything is possible. Anything is possible. All things are possible. Through who? Thank you. But that is it for the night. Date who you want to date, love who you don't want to love. Be who you want to be, see who you want to see, screw who you want to screw. And thank y'all for joining me on tonight. I know that the podcast came on late. I'm going to get life together. I tell you, it's been rough. It's been rough. Make sure that you make sure that you follow me on TikTok. You want to know where I've been? You want to know where I've been? I'm gonna let y'all know for the rest of the week. I'm gonna post. I'm put on my social media. Follow me on TikTok at Life According to Cree. Follow me on Facebook at Life According to Cree. This podcast is uploaded is updated weekly to Life According to Cree TV on YouTube. You can always go back and look at old episodes, etc. I am also Life According to Cree. The podcast is also the verbal version the radio version is actually available on all platforms. Just like with this one, you can go back and you can watch. You can go back and listen to previous episodes. If you can't have stuff up on your computer, you don't want to do it that way. You got iHeartRadio, you got Apple Music, Google Play, Google Podcasts, whatever. You can listen there. But thank y'all for riding with me. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate it. And I'll holler at y'all. I don't know if I'm gonna be live next Thursday, or if I'm gonna pre-record. I don't know. But what I do know is that the podcast will be up. That part I do know. So y'all have a good night. Thank you. Holler at you later.